that a high-profile game lives up to the hype. And now, after spending the last week playing it non-stop, I can safely say that, for me at least, it has. This is a game people will be talking about for years, and it's one that I think everyone needs to experience for themselves. Thanks for watching, and good luck in Elden Ring.
Ring is From Software's largest and most ambitious game yet, and that ambition has more than paid off. Even after 87 hours of blood, sweat, and tears that included some of the most challenging fights I've ever fought, and innumerable surprises, there are still bosses that I left on the table, secrets that I've yet to uncover, side quests that I missed out on, tons of weapons, spells, and skills I've never used. And this is all on top of PvP and cooperative play that I've barely been able to scratch the surface of. Throughout it all, while the fundamentals of combat haven't changed much from what we've seen before, the enormous variety of viciously designed enemies and the brutal but surmountable bosses have brought its battles to a new level, even with all the threads I didn't manage to tug on my first playthrough, of which I'm sure there will be several. What I was treated to can easily be held among the best open world games I've ever played. Like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild before it, Elden Ring is one that we'll be looking back to as a game that moved the genre forward.
I had to sum up my thoughts on Elden Ring as things stand right now, I'd say it's a masterpiece. I have some issues with how older mechanics hold up in the new framework and how bizarrely implemented certain features sometimes feel, but when I think back on my experience, that stuff mostly disappears.
Shards of what came before and forges them into something that will go down in history as one of the all-time greats. A triumph in design and creativity, and an open world game that distinguishes itself for what it doesn't do as much as what it does.
Hey, bro, come on now, dawg. Come on, man.
You know, usually when these big games come out that have been hyped about the game's press by gamers, I always am skeptical, especially when they get 10s out of 10 across the board. I'm usually pretty skeptical against those kinds of games because they usually don't tend to be a 10 out of 10. I don't trust the modern games media, and I don't trust modern gamers who throw that word masterpiece around, because 9 times out of 10, no pun intended, 9 times out of 10, whenever I decide to go play the game, it doesn't end up reflecting those scores and the adoration or adulation, I guess. So, yeah, as you can see in the last several video clips that I showed you, this game is getting praised. 2022 is past at this point. This is a New Year video, but this game gets praised out the ass. Everybody, 10s, 9s, masterpiece. It's the greatest game. And I'm just like, yo, probably, some of the earlier Souls games were a little funny for me. I gotta replay those, to be honest with you. But, damn, this game was probably the least fun time I've had playing a From Software game, let alone playing a Souls-like. I was the whole time playing this game, I was always thinking, what else is there to play? I was just thinking, hey, can I go play something else? I was just telling myself that, yo, strategist, let's go play something else. I'm tired of this game. Like, this game, it's not clicking. There's nothing clicking in my mind with this game. Let's move on and play something else, please. That's the whole time. That's the shit I was thinking the whole time with Elden Ring. But I digress. If your opinion is different from the status quo of what everybody else thinks, you probably are gonna get dislike bomb and shot down. Freedom of speech, it's a touchy subject nowadays. And you know what's even more funny? Miyazaki, Hidetaka Miyazaki, the guy who created and directed who creates and directs these games. It's funny, he came out and he actually said he doesn't even know why Elden Ring is doing as good as it did it did as good as it did, and more than likely going to continue to do as good in 2023. He doesn't even know why the game is doing as good as it was, or as it is. And that goes to show you that, hey, maybe the reason why, he's saying that is because in his eyes, in the creators, in his creative vision, he looks at this game as just another Souls game that he made. And I look at this game as just another Souls game, because if I'm being completely honest here, if you took out those little graces in the game, you know, the checkpoints, like, you know, the bonfires, if you took that out of this game and you didn't tell anybody, a lot of people, outside of some of the little small things characteristically that makes Elden Ring visually stand out as Elden Ring, you wouldn't even be able to tell this was a new game. You would look at this as maybe like Dark Souls 3 DLC. Deadass. You would. Because that's exactly how the game looks. So in his eyes, the shit looks the same, plays the damn same as what we've been playing for like 5-6 years now. It's a recycled shit. And I don't want to hear nobody talk about Call of Duty and Ubisoft and all these other games being recycled, because goddamn, this is as recycled. Elden Ring is as recycled as you can fucking get. Same sound effects, same boss animations. I mean, same goddamn weapon. A lot of the same weapons too. You know, it's acid flip. That's going a little too far. I wouldn't say acid flip, but I would say very much rehashed. You know what I mean? But I digress. Like I said, even the guy who created this fucking game, directed this game, he was like, what the fuck? I made the same fucking game you motherfuckers been playing for years. How the fuck are you guys championing can I get the word out? Championing this bullshit game? You know, I ain't gonna say bullshit, but championing this game. Even he doesn't know. So Elden Ring, for me, I bought the game day one. I bought it off of Fanatical, really good website. Check it out. I'm not affiliated with them, but they got a lot of good deals. They have a lot of good day one or pre-order deals as well that you guys should take advantage of. But essentially, I got the game for a discounted price on release, and went ahead on release day. I think it was like release night or like one of those, and proceeded to play the game. And I could definitely tell you guys, wow, when I first started playing Elden Ring, I really was bored with the game. I disliked it a lot. Like, it was just like, bro, what the fuck? What is the advancement here? What is new here? What is unique? What is different here from what we've played for the last two From Software, last two Souls-like experiences? And slog kind of just defines what Elden Ring is for me, a slog. I know a lot of people are not going to want to hear that. I know some people subscribe to my channel are probably going to want to hear me praise this game, say it's a masterpiece, say it's the greatest game of all time, and all this dumb bullshit that's not true. But the reality of it is that Elden Ring is not that for me, okay? For me in particular. What Elden Ring is for me is a safe, average, and just okay Souls-like, well, Souls game, I guess, in this case, because there's Dark Souls 4, let's be honest. It's really Dark Souls 3.5, because if it was Dark Souls 4, it would have some fucking new graphics and new gameplay mechanics, like actually new, not the same old shit that they've been doing for 10 fucking years now. But I digress. Sekiro was like a step in the right direction, and it took like 2 steps back with Elden Ring. Like, if you go play Sekiro, right? Sekiro, first of all, faster run speed. The jumping was better compared to the jumping in this game. I don't know how you guys, I was watching a few people play this game, DSP, and some other streamers and stuff, watching like the Rage compilations, and a lot of y'all do the jump attacks. I don't know how you guys resorted to wanting to do that, because every time I would go in for a jump attack, these bosses would just fly out the way. And I'll be like, oh shit, and I'll just be right open for the attack, because I'll be just sitting there trying to recover. Whereas in Sekiro, the jumping was a lot better because you could jump in Sekiro and then jump away right away. You know what I'm saying? So you could land on the ground and jump as soon as you land on the ground. Whereas Elden Ring is like, the jumping is just clunky. You know what I mean? So I don't know how you guys end up resorting to doing that as a tactic to beat some of these harder bosses like Millennia and shit. But yeah, man, it was just like, you know. But the bosses in this game, like I said, the end bosses especially, they got ants in their pants, bro. They will not stay still, and it's so hard to get a beat on them. Every fucking attack you do, they have a reaction. Every single attack that you have, they have a solution for it. There's barely any of the bosses in the end area. I'm rambling at this point, but I gotta get my point out. Barely any of the bosses in the end area got a fucking weakness, bro. Seriously, like, you know how in the older Souls games you're like, okay, I gotta find that weakness, I gotta find that exploit. It's not like that in this game, bro. I really don't feel like it's like that. At least for a lot of the later bosses, dude. You're like, let me try to find a weakness. What is the weakness? Just hit the motherfucker with strong ass weapons, whittle down their health bar as fast as possible. Get the fuck out of there, because they're gonna do super high ass damage to your ass, and you're gonna be dead in a matter of seconds. so the weakness is like, you know, is that even a thing anymore? You know, with these FromSoft games. So that was the first thing that kind of ended up bugging me, was the lack of new. You know, it felt like they just recycled Dark Souls 3 and put it in an open world. You know, it was like Dark Souls expansion. You know what I'm saying? 3.5 in a way. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, some of the best games to come out were kind of like recycled. Like if you look at Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas was just recycled from Fallout 3, you know, but that ended up being a way better game than Fallout 3, and having a lot of stuff in it that was different from Fallout 3. So, you know, that ended up being a different experience from Fallout 3. But in the case of Elden Ring, right? In the case of Elden Ring, it's like the same game, but they added some things to say, hey, this is not the same game entirely, but it's the same game. Yeah, it's just the same sound effects, the same combat. They have, of course, new mechanics and stuff, but it's very minor, you know, in comparison to if they just had made a new game with a new engine, just with a new, entirely different premise, you know. Not saying that they didn't have to do Souls-like, but come on, bro. This is the same shit we've been playing for like 10 years now. That was one of the reasons why I just ended up really not feeling this game. And by the way, man, shout out to the channel Never Knows Best, because he's the only channel on YouTube that actually gave this game kind of a legit review, kind of a more of a realistic review, in talking about Elden Ring in, I think, truthfully, talking about Elden Ring, I think Never Knows Best probably has one of the best reviews that I've seen. It's like 2 hours long, so it's pretty long, by the way, so, you know, just prepare for that. Like, listen to it in the background and whatnot. But I think he made a great review. And also Avid Alchemist, although I think Avid Alchemist is a little bit more radical, a little bit more extreme with his takes, you know, quote unquote. He has quote unquote hot takes. I know I probably have a lot of hot. This whole video is basically a fucking hot take if you think about it. And I don't really like the term hot take, because hot take is like, what? Like, why is my opinion a hot take? Like, I don't understand. I gotta just be like everybody else. We gotta just be robotic and say and feel the same way about everything, right? So that's a hot take. I don't know. I don't understand that terminology. That's definitely some Gen Z shit. But anyway, shout out to Avid Alchemist too. He also has a great review on Elden Ring. It's about, his is also 2 hours long. but his review was really good, and I also watch his review over and over, just kind of a reference to, because a lot of the problems he has with the game is very logical, very rational, and I have a lot of the same issues as well. So I always watch that review because it's very it's educational, and it's also interesting because we share the same sentiments in a lot of his points that he made on that review. He calls his reviews retrospectives, which is interesting because, you know, retrospectives is kind of what you do after a game's been out for a long period of time. But I like retrospective as a term. It sounds sophisticated, but definitely check out Albert Alchemist and Never Knows Best. They have two of the best reviews of Elden Ring on the internet, in my opinion, that actually are truthful and not some bullshit lie, you know what I mean? But moving on from that, I quit the game. I quit this game I've quit Elden Ring about 3 or 4 times, and then I got back on it because I realized that I spent my money on the game, and there's no reason for me to sit here and quit it and not finish it, right? I like to finish things that I start, unless it's just really, really, really bad. But Elden Ring is decent enough that I continue to play it. So, in tandem with my lack of engagement with the game from it being so, I don't know, not innovative, I guess, non-innovative, I just looked at all of these reviews that said this game was a 10 and a 9, and I couldn't even understand it, because from a gameplay perspective, even when I saw the game on the network test back in I don't know when they started doing that, maybe like 2021, right? I was shocked because I was like, dude, isn't the game community supposed to kind of like say that, you know, aren't they supposed to come out against games like recycling stuff, you know? Because people talk shit about FIFA and Call of Duty all the time and Madden, but for some reason, From Software can get away with it because they're From Software. They have some kind of clout, and it's like all those other games I just mentioned, you know, they get shit for being recycled and asset reflips. You know, and like I said, asset reflips are not that big of a deal because, like I said, like the Yakuza games, the Dragon Engine Yakuza games, a lot of those are asset reflips, but they end up doing enough in the new games that makes it feel like a new game. Like Yakuza Like a Dragon and Yakuza 6 are essentially really, as far as the engine, is very similar, but they are different games entirely. You understand what I'm saying? So you can still have an asset reflip and the game be different, but in case of Elden Ring is like an asset reflip that is just that, an asset reflip with some added things here and there to try to make it feel like a different game. But it ended up just feeling like Dark Souls 3. It ended up just feeling like the same old shit that they put out already. So I was confused by the 10s and the 9s and these high acclaimed scores, and people saying that this was their game of the year and shit, man. I was really shocked by that. So after quitting the game once, I don't remember the time I had at that point, but I think I quit it around maybe 30 hours because I was so bored. The bosses did not do anything for me. The world didn't do anything for me. There was nothing in this game that was better, you know what I'm saying, compared to previous From Software adventures. Like in Bloodborne is a superior game in just about every way compared to Elden Ring. You know what I'm saying? The only thing, I guess, Elden Ring has more like spells and weapons. This is only, I think, pro. But Bloodborne is a better game through and through compared to Elden Ring, in my personal opinion. Sekiro is a superior experience compared to Elden Ring. The games that came before Elden Ring are way better. So that's why I was confused. I was like, holy shit, people rate this game a 10, and they wasn't even rating Bloodborne a 10. Sekiro wasn't even getting rated a 10. These games were getting rated 8.5s and 8s and 9s. And the games, when they were being reviewed, If you guys look back at the reviews for Sekiro, for Sekiro, for Dark Souls 3, for Bloodborne, people were outlining their flaws. You know, say the review wasn't this overwhelming, glowing, positive review to where it was like there was nothing about the game that was wrong. You know what I'm saying? So it's just strange seeing Elden Ring get that praise to where it was like, yo, this game's a 10. It's the best game of 2022. It's my favorite game of all time. I'm like, holy shit. You can say it's your favorite game of all time, that's fine, but damn, like, all the games that came out in 2022, was this really the best game? I quit this game like 3 fucking times before I finally managed to pull through and finish it. And I don't do that on From Software games. I'm rambling at this point, but I don't do that on From Software games. From Software games, I usually start playing them and I finish them around the same time. If they are a new release, I finish them in the same time frame I bought them, about a week, maybe 2 weeks. I finish them around either in the same month or maybe like a month later or whatever. I don't take a whole fucking year to beat a fucking game, to beat a From Software game. Usually I don't. But in the case of Elden Ring, I was so bored and I was so unengaged with the game in its entirety that it kind of just like, I just quit it. And then I went back to it recently and I made a goal for myself and I said, yo, Strategist, you gotta beat this game before New Year's. You know, before the 2023 roll around and all these new games start coming out and shit. You know what I'm saying? You gotta beat this game. And I made the goal for myself and I finally finished it. And it was a pain in the ass. Like, I'm gonna detail it, but goddamn, beating this game was just rough, okay? And of course, the story, I skipped a majority, well, I skipped more of the cutscenes towards the later end of the game because I just didn't give a fuck anymore. But the story, I don't even know what the fuck's going on. I guess you could say because you skipped it, you don't know what's going on. But to be honest, even if I watched the cutscenes, I wouldn't know what was going on. And I don't know. I really don't know. All I know is that I became Elden Lord at the end of the game. I was sitting on a throne. And that was it. That was the story. Yeah. That was that was the story. Now, I can't really fault Elden Ring. To be fair, I cannot fault Elden Ring for having a story like this because previous FromSoft games always still had stories that wasn't very, I don't know, like, you didn't really know what was going on. You know what I'm saying? You always kind of had to look at lore in order to understand what was going on in the game, what you were doing. So I can't even fault Elden Ring for that. That's just something that Miyazaki, if you guys don't know who he is, he's the director and creator of these games. That's just something that he does. That's just his way of delivering a story in these games. So I can't even hate on Elden Ring for that. But I don't know. I don't think I've ever really skipped cutscenes in a Souls game before. Only, especially on the first playthrough, I never done that. In this game, I just didn't give a shit about the story, like, at all. I just didn't care what I was doing, didn't care who the characters were, didn't give a shit. Skip. Skip. That was me in the cutscene. Skip. Skip. So, yeah, man. Overall, Elden Ring was pretty much a negative experience for me. Didn't like it. It was complete torture. I was literally frustrated, infuriated playing this game. I've never been this angry. I was never that angry playing. I should have honestly streamed this game. You guys would have seen it firsthand, but I've never been that angry playing a Souls-like before. I've always found them to be fair and just, and if I was losing, it's because, you know, I was losing. But in the case of Elden Ring, I feel like the bosses are just stacked against you. A lot of the areas, especially again like that end game, which is where the real frustration with the combat of this game came in. They stack that shit against you, man. That shit, the last 20 to 30 hours of this game is a complete and utter slog. I just couldn't wait to finish the game. But even the earlier hours, my first 30 hours of the game, just wasn't memorable. When I got to the 60-hour mark, still nothing clicked for me, guys. Nothing clicked for me when it came to Elden Ring, and unfortunately, it's not what you guys are gonna want to hear, but that's just how it was for me. Unfortunately, nothing clicked for me. I didn't find this to be any better or greater than previous Souls-likes that I played. That's just how I feel about this shit, you know? But, I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't at least give some props to Elden Ring. It's probably the best selling From Software game to date, which, come on, I gotta give it credit. We gotta give it credit for selling as many copies as it did for a niche, which is let's be honest, the Souls games are relatively niche. They just have a lot of clout. You know what I'm saying? But they're relatively niche games. And the fact that a relatively niche game went on to sell 12 million copies is amazing. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta give it props for doing commercially well. Critics seem to love the game. I don't know why. But they seem to absolutely adore this game and not find any flaws or faults in it. You know, or seem to miss the fact that it's just a copy and paste of what we played already. But, you know, that's besides the fact. They still love Elden Ring. And that means something, I guess. I didn't love it, but that still means something, right? And the graphics of the game in certain areas do look beautiful. They really put their money and they really put their budget into certain parts of Elden Ring and really did their thing. They was like, okay, we're gonna make that tree, that Erd tree, we're gonna make that Erd tree look as beautiful as possible. Some of the scenery in this game is literally wallpaper worthy. It's beautiful. I can't even hate on the art design. Elden Ring has beautiful art design. The art designers really did their thing, and to be honest, I think their work, I'm gonna say this, I think their work was wasted on an outdated and old, antiquated graphical engine. If this was like a real next-gen experience or whatever, you know, like a real new game, I guess to say, man, the game would have looked absolutely gorgeous, just riding around on touring and seeing all these sights and stuff. But the old engine honestly holds back how beautiful the art design can truly be on Elden Ring. No, graphics are not everything, because Persona 5 is a nice looking game too, and that's not graphically impressive really, but the art design and the art style is what really carries that game. Let's just say that. But the art design in Elden Ring is beautiful. But that's about the only thing I can say in all honesty that really was, you know, a pro for me. A positive was that the art design was beautiful. But that's it. Playing through the game, boring as fuck, bland as fuck, recycled bullshit, nothing new, nothing innovative, and just the same old shit. I don't understand how we went from Dark Souls 3, which came in 2016, by the way. That's like 5 years ago. And then we went to Sekiro. And then we went back to Dark Souls 3? What the fuck? I thought this was supposed to be a new game. It says Elden Ring, not Dark Souls 4. And that's why I was looking at and I swear to God, sometimes I would just be looking at... I remember I was looking at a clip on Twitter. And I swear, I thought that the clip was Dark Souls 3, but it was Elden Ring. I was like, holy shit. That's crazy. I mean, they had an opportunity to really make something new, but they just ended up coming out with the same old shit, and it just didn't click with me. So all in all, guys, that's my thoughts on Elden Ring. I'm never playing this game again. I am so glad I finally finished it. I'm not gonna put no effort into this video like that. I'm putting no effort into the video like I ain't put no effort into Elden Ring, because I didn't even go really fight a lot of the extra bosses. I fought some of them, but all the other ones, it's like the popular ones like Mog and Millennia, I didn't even bother. I didn't even bother fighting them. Wasn't interested. But just to say the least, I wasn't interested. Because I didn't like the bosses already, so I'm gonna go seek out extra bosses to fight. It just the game felt more like work, felt more like a chore. That's the right term. Than it felt fun and engaging for me. Okay, that's just my opinion. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Saw a little bit of a different side of you know, Elden Ring's reception, because all you probably been hearing is Elden Ring is a masterpiece. Elden Ring is the greatest game of all time. Elden Ring is the #1 gaming experience that you could play right now in 2022. Like, you probably been hearing all that shit, and I know something deep down in your heart's like, I played Elden Ring and that shit is not true. That shit is not that, you know. It ain't that type of fucking game. I know you guys deep down was thinking that at some point. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Anyway, Strategist 14. Hope you guys enjoy. Tell me what you guys think. Yeah. And let's look forward to a new year. 2023 is a lot of cool games coming out. Let's hope they're good, and more than likely they probably gonna come out broken. Let's be honest, but let's just hope that the games are actually good as is. So let's look forward to a new 2023, and let's hope that these games are worthwhile, I guess, you know. Anyway, guys, Streets 14. I love you, hope you love me, and I'm out. Peace.